When it comes to logo design and the branding process, I like to do a quick word association exercise. This involves creating a word map where I can take certain keywords or phrases from client answers and the company name, and I try to find connecting concepts or words. For example, the client mentioned the word malleable means moldable, so I'm going to write that word here on top. What's another word that can also mean moldable? I think of the word flexible. Remember, there's no wrong answers here, trying to think of things that indicate being able to be shaped or formed. Sometimes you get stuck on a word, and it's nice to just move on to another word to reduce the possibility of creator's block. So let's think of another. Well, the client did mention metal in the brief as well as liking the color gold. So let's write metal right up here. When I think of metal, what do I think of next? I first think of strength. So I want to be able to write the words strong up here. When thinking about gold or other metals, I think about how valuable they are and how expensive it is to buy jewelry and other products with gold in them. So just going to jot that word quickly down here. Also, metal has a reflective quality to it. Rarely are they just one solid color, but they tend to reflect and bounce the light around back and forth, creating a very dynamic look. If secondary words are not coming to me quickly, I move on to another main word bubble. This client mentioned they seek a successful clientele and they have a higher price point, so I'm just going to jot the word high-end here. Now, when I think of the word high-end, I think of the word expensive. This does not have to be a negative word here. I also think about something being rare when it's high-end or expensive. And to be honest, I think that might connect better with the word metal up top. There is no order you have to go in with word mapping. You add words as they come to you and try to categorize them as such. I think a better word for high-end is the word limited. Higher-end products and services are limited because they tend to cost more and not everyone will be able to afford that service. Premium might be a similar word to use here as well. Let's come up with another main word here. Let's try life coaching. That's another word found frequently in the client brief and answers. What do I think of when I think of life coaching? I think about lost people finding direction, so I'm quickly jotting down that word. I think that it offers stability in some people's chaotic lives. Some people need someone to talk to help them through what seems like craziness in their personal lives. I also think this is very motivating. I think once you get a plan, it really helps to keep you going to follow it. So I'm going to write down that word. This whole word mapping process should feel pretty easy to you. If you ever get stuck on a word, just move on and try another word. After just about 5 minutes or so, you should have a few words and subwords to go on to create a finished word map. This is really just a helpful guide in developing some starting concepts for your logo. If you don't find it helpful, that's okay. There is no requirement to do this as a first step. Now that we have some words and phrases that are associated with our client's company, let's see what we could do to pick out themes between our words and how we can communicate some of these words and thoughts as shapes for our logo design. By doing a bit of research, I found that the strongest shape in the universe is a triangle. That gives me a great starting point as I have put several words down that associate with the word strong or strength. So just going to write down some of my connections I see with the words and the objects. I know that the client already mentioned that they want to use gold, so we know we want to keep that in mind when we get to colors later down the road. The triangle and gold elements are making me wonder if sticking to a geometric shape for a possible logo mark or symbol makes sense here. Remember, there's no wrong or right answers. Let your mind start to connect ideas, concepts, and words. Let's stop there and get to some of these rough ideas onto paper. I'm using an app called Procreate for the iPad and using an Apple Pencil to sketch, but you can use just plain old pencil and paper to jot down your rough sketches. I'm going to add a grid on my document just to give me some added help in keeping my lines a little more straight. I am just starting out with the idea of a triangle. That is all. Simply just drawing a triangle and figuring out shapes I can create with it. This is nothing too complicated. I'm seeing how it looks overlapped or as separate elements, just doing these quickly to give my brain a chance to play around a little bit with some creative freedom. Once again, if you ever feel stuck on a shape, just move on to another idea, shape, or concept for now. What if we did a typographic logo and emphasized the intentional misspelling of the U? What if we made the U a big centerpiece of the typographic logo? Just sketching out ideas to see if it's ever worth pursuing. The sketching process is not required, but it does help you eliminate ideas, as it's much easier to sketch out complicated ideas than it is to try to put them in a vector program like Illustrator. It takes a whole lot more time to do it that way. Now I am combining the triangle and the idea of the U in the typographic logo. This is where you can test out multiple concepts in one logo. This is where some good accidents might occur, when you start to combine multiple concepts and shapes. Some you do not anticipate until you start to sketch them out. Let me quickly sketch some geometric shapes. I may have to play around more with this one in a vector program like Adobe Illustrator, as it gets a little bit easier to do geometric shapes there. Doing that made me want to try overlapping triangle shapes that maybe look as if they're weaving in and out of each other. It might look pretty interesting. I'm going to start a fresh new document to test this one out. As we sketch, sometimes our ideas do not come out quite right in reality. I think this looks really good, but it might look too close to the Star of David, and I don't want to have a symbol that looks so close to something else. Maybe turning it helps. I want to erase some of the intersecting lines to give it that woven layered effect maybe. Going back to my word map, I noticed with life coaching, growth is another great word to add or use. I associate growth with leaves and nature. What if we combine the strength of the geometric triangles but with the growth and softness of a leaf? Adding some details to this can make it kind of a unique symbol. One idea usually leads naturally to another, and this is why brainstorming is so important. My thought was the triangle and the leaf, but my symbol was just getting way too complicated for my liking, so I decided to try out something a bit more simplistic. We can start to pick a few selected concepts to then bring into the next stage, the vector stage. These will be symbols and sketches that I think have the most promise. I'm starting to just label each concept with what comes to my mind first. You do not want to bring too many sketches into Illustrator with you because it could overwhelm the creative process. Less is more when it comes to breaking that overwhelming feeling.